let this shit slide and get your lick back. I feel like I'm JX.
J-Way.
I'm a perfectionist. Adderall got me restless.
I'm gone.
Run with a wild crew, they get reckless. Young boy, come up off that neck.
Give me that.
To the trends. See a lead, be the band.
Good evening. We are back with another episode of Corner to Copa. I'm here with my co-host, Coach. How you feeling? I really want to know how you feeling, Coach.
Physically or mentally? Mentally, I'm great. I mean, it's we've said it the last 2 weeks, but it's just like it's almost like a pinch me, are we dreaming type of feeling right now because it's been so damn long. Physically, I'm beat to a pulp after working a little local showcase tournament over here in Southeast Michigan for some high school ball players looking for a little extra college exposure. I mean, they are defying logic right now, despite practically every factor going against them between injuries, limited player availability from the minor league system. I mean, they've pretty much called up everyone they've been able to. Offensive struggles early on, defensive struggles early on, like big defensive struggles, guys getting demoted, struggling to all of a sudden you've got this. It feels like, honestly, it feels like the 2016. You know, we got Bonderman and Maroth and, a litany of players that we all remember that grew up with that team. That's what this team reminds you of right now. And you got a couple key guys like in 2006, you had a young Justin Verlander, and now you got not quite so young Skubal, but you've got a lot of similarities right now. And it's getting me a little bit of goosebumps, not going to lie. But, I really feel like these fans, this city is now they're like, okay, this is legitimate. This is not a fluke. This is something that we have been really dying for the last few years now. And we're just, we're hungry for more. This is what we hope we can, continue to build on over the next few years. And boy, we have our own position in the wild card standings. Bang.
So the Tigers are 82-74, over 500 in as far as the road and at home. We are second. We are second in the AL Central as well. Well, are we tied, or do we have the tiebreaker on the Royals right now, or how does that work?
No, so as it's shown in the standings visually, if you go on the website, MLB or whatever, we are listed third. Even though we're tied with Casey, we don't own a tiebreaker with any of the divisional teams. The only ones that we do own are against Boston and Seattle, who are further behind us at the moment. So, but yes, we are a full game ahead on paper against Minnesota, which frankly is all that matters. As we've mentioned over the last week or two, we lose the tiebreaker to Minnesota and Kansas City. So we must finish at least one game ahead of either one when it's all sudden done after 162 games.
Right. So we are 7.5 games out of first place right now. And
Cleveland officially already clinched the division yesterday.
Right. So that's not even important really, but we are currently on a 2-game winning streak. And the Kansas City Royals and Minnesota Twins are falling hard. I mean, especially Minnesota. Minnesota is they got beat real bad.
Kansas City's lost 7 straight.
Kansas City has lost 7 straight. The Twins have lost 2 straight. They lost both games of the doubleheader yesterday, and in resounding fashion, certainly in the second one. But
they lost to one player in the second game.
Wait, who was? Oh, Devers?
No, Tristan Cass had 3 home runs in his first 3 at-bats, and he outscored the entire Twins team for that second game on his own.
Yeah, I mean, that type of momentum is just like, how do you bounce back with that with so little time left? Obviously, we're going to get into what they have left and what's at stake. But yeah, I mean, we're definitely defying the odds. We're clicking right at the correct time, kind of what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. But I mean, it's getting more and more real, and I think that we would have hoped to be contending for the third spot, but now we're in the position, especially after sweeping Kansas City, to catch them. I don't think we really have a chance of catching Baltimore. No, we didn't just play. No, we didn't sweep Kansas City. We
took it serious. Almost did. We almost fucked them twice.
Yeah. But then we took 2 or 3 from Baltimore as well, and now we have 6 games left. We got Tampa Bay at home, and we got Chicago at home. I mean, I don't think we could have set ourselves up for a better situation as far as A, being at home, and B, playing Chicago in the last series of the year, completely healthy, with our top. Well, we'll talk about that too, but. I mean, we are in a strong position right now, but I mean, you got Parker Meadows who's making SportsCenter top 10 plays every. I mean, it's almost to the point to where you just expect it. It's not even a surprise at this point. Yeah, he's 6'5", he's going to jump over the wall and steal a home run from the team. I mean, that is like. I mean, it's like having Dikembe Mutombo under the rim. It's like you just know, like, why are you even? Yeah, like you better no layups inside. It's a no-fly zone. It's a no-fly zone.
Yep, no-fly zone.
So yeah, but outside of that, Kerry Carpenter is having an amazing week. I just feel like he is just putting the team on his back and just willing the team to victory. He had 2 home runs yesterday.
I saw the one for sure. Unfortunately, I was gone all day and trying to play catch up in the evening. But yeah, he made Camden Yards look very comfortable. That's for sure.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, he is hitting his stride at the perfect time, as is everybody. I mean, Jace Young is hitting better, and Marcion, it's like having angels in the outfield. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Parker, yeah. Kerry Carpenter is looking like one of the better hitters in the league right now. And yeah, I mean, we're just I mean, it looks what did I send you as far as the the chances of us making the playoffs? It's like 62% right now.
I think it's closer to 70% now as of all the end of the games last night. It's right. I think it's like 70.4%, somewhere in there. But yeah, it's astronomically higher than it was not even 4 weeks ago, right around Labor Day weekend. Like we talked about, not only are they hot, they've gotten at the right time. With them being hot, they've gotten just enough help too at the same time to make the hot run really optimal in terms of gaining ground for everyone ahead of them. So, I mean, again, pinch me. I don't know if it's real or not.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of wilding out on social media and semi getting ahead of myself, and everybody's like, just relax, we're not in yet. But it's just an energy that I haven't felt. I mean, we followed the Tigers pretty tough when we were in college. The 2016 run, I wasn't really locked in tune as much. But I mean, this is an energy that I can only remember, college, and then kind of like towards the end of my high school when they played the Cardinals in the World Series and all that. So it's just, I mean, it's real. And in those years, I wasn't going to the games either. Like, it's a different effect now that we are, experiencing it firsthand in the, in the stadium, and following the team day in and day out, and really getting a chance to get involved the way I feel. I mean, obviously we're not on the field, we're not, but this is every bit. Hey, but this, yeah, coach gets on the field. But this is every bit of an accomplishment and a something for us as it is for them. It just feels like anyway. So yeah, it's great. I mean, how do you? I mean, I don't know. We just got to continue. We gotta continue.
I mean, in terms
finish
of
the job, but
in terms of like following the team, social media has done done us a solid in the last 20 years in doing that. So yeah, we're able to look at different accounts, other writers nationally and locally, or our radio guys, TV guys are more accessible than ever. So there's a lot of more different angles that we can look at the players and teams. Like you said, going to the game is one thing, but still, it's not like we're going down there to talk to these guys like they're, one of us and non-athletes or whatever, not pro athletes, but it's done wonders for, people like fans like us that like to cover these teams and, anyone else across the country and beyond. But look, we got a couple other comments from our buddy Andrew, if you want to read those out.
Yeah, he said it's a 99% chance that Baldelli is actually a present day Gary Busey. Lights are on, no one is home. And he said every Tigers fan should be kissing Baldelli's feet. Who is that?
I know a Rocco Baldelli, a former player, but
yeah. But yeah, it's just kind of surreal. I mean, when I started really going to games, I feel like they weren't that good. Like they were, the Twins manager.
That's Ron Garden. Oh, well, the current one, yeah.
Yeah, it's not Gardner anymore.
No, but it is Rocco Baldelli. It is the former player, now manager, Rocco Baldelli. Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, we'll let's get to our first break here.
Sounds good.
All right. So what topics we got to talk about, Coach?
Well, let's roll through probably the more breaking news in terms of the roster. It's a very simple one, but I think it's going to have a very interesting dynamic that we'll expand on here. So, I mean, literally while we were recording some of our other mini episodes on some profiles, it was announced that Jackson Jobe was being promoted, his contract purchased by the club, as he was not on the 40-man roster. If you had tuned in the last week or two, we had noted specifically that from a roster standpoint, a 40-man, when they had called up initially Ricky Vanasco, he was the last player listed on the 40-man that hadn't been called up yet, that they could, use some flexibility on. Obviously, last week's episode, between then and now, he had been sent back down after Reese Olson came back. So Shelby Miller was the unfortunate casualty, but in terms of odd men out in the pitching, not really bullpen, but in terms of total arms, was kind of a no-brainer because Maeda had shown some flashes of being a little bit better over his last few outings. He definitely got rocked a little bit on the last one, but Shelby had slowly and progressively been getting worse and worse in some of his outings, where he'd have major blow up. So unfortunately, Miller has been DFA'd or cut from the team in order to make room on the 26-man and 40-man roster for Jackson Jobe. The initial report is he will be coming out of the bullpen this week at some point in time. And then who knows what will happen for the playoffs. But given some little additional research based on the new or reformed format from Major League, the roster is 26, and there are some exceptions to replacing injured players. And Gibson Sawyer Long has been on the 60-day IL all year, so he is eligible to be replaced on that 40-man roster with Jackson Jobe, which I would believe would be the point going forward should they end up clinching and holding on to a wild card spot for the playoffs in 2024, that he would be available essentially in the bullpen. And frankly, if it came down to him and maybe two other guys in the arms department, given his track record recently in Double-A and his limited stint in Toledo after his promotion, I think he is in a fairly obvious shoe-in for a playoff roster spot at this time. And our good buddy Andrew's firing over some other messages. Foster, I'll let you take those.
Yeah, he says this is Marcioni says this is how real clubhouses operate. Bring in your secret weapon before the main event. Most say he's been ready for Major League bats since he was drafted. Drafted is a stretch, but he's had Major League stuff. I'm sure it's been a more command thing than actually, could his stuff handle it? So, yeah.
Well, remember, he missed a month in May, so they were just trying to hopefully just build him back up to getting into regular, stamina and pitch count situation. So, while I don't foresee him, as they stated simply, he's not going to be starting. He's not going to be throwing 5-6 innings for, 85, 95 pitches. It appears he will be coming out in a mid to long relief scenario situation for this week. And I would imagine that would probably be the same blueprint they use for the playoff approach as well.
Yeah. And it's going to be fun. You got a guy like Bo Brisky. He's been ramping it up to 100 out of nowhere. You bring in Jackson Jobe into the fold, guys like Foley and Holton, who are pretty much, I won't say unhittable, but and
Will Vest.
Will Vest throws gas. And of course, Scoob's got one more outing left?
Yeah, as of right now, he is slated to pitch the first game tomorrow.
He's pitching tomorrow?
Yeah, tentatively, but there's some weather moving in. It looks like some rain and some storms in the afternoon and all evening. So, if that gets pushed out to a doubleheader either tomorrow or Thursday for whatever reason, I think the likelihood of him starting, we'll say game 162, if he absolutely had to against Chicago in order to win and you're in type of scenario, I don't think he would start as a result of starting a day later, but I would maybe expect, as long as his pitch count wasn't too high, that he would be available for maybe, 2 innings or something like that if, absolutely needed it. But I think that's the reason for Jobe coming up, is to help plug in an extra strong guy who's in his rhythm. His timing's good. He's looked great after his rehab and whatnot down in Double-A, and he looked good in Toledo. So, we would hope not to have to use Scooble in that situation. Obviously, have him ready for game 1 of the wild card round. We'll roll into it real quick here, Foster. We're looking at the potential 26-man for the playoff, and right now I've got Jobe in, and it honestly comes down to because I got Ibanez and Young in as well. So that 26th spot comes down to really Kenta Maeda or Wenceel Perez. What are your thoughts on which of the two do make it in, or at least your preference?
I think it's a no-brainer. In what world, if you bring up Jackson Jobe, do you choose Kenta Maeda, who is only going to get in the game if we're getting smoked, and when it's all said and done, we're only playing 2 possible games, given it just doesn't. There's no. I don't think there's any scenario where you bring Kenta Maeda in. If we're already down and it's a low leverage situation, then you can pitch anybody. Because there's no tomorrow at that point. So Wenceel Perez is a switch hitting outfielder. He can pitch hit late in situations, and in neither situation can they say, "Oh, well, we're pitching against." It's always going to be a semi advantageous situation for him. So I feel like, and he's been back in the lineup for maybe 2 weeks, and he's already had a pretty clutch hit that in a sense has in some way saved our season. So I don't see any scenario where you choose, because the money isn't as much of a big deal anymore. Like if you got to sit your most expensive pitcher, which he's our most expensive pitcher, right?
Well, he's there as of right now in terms of active players. He's the most expensive player that's active right now.
The most expensive
The other
player
one's
because Baez, right?
Yeah.
So so I don't think you worry so much about sitting your most expensive player, given we're literally talking about max 2 games, no, minimum 2 games.
Well,
max.
it's the best out of 3. The first 2 wild card rounds, best out of 3.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so you really put no weight at all on him being a playoff experienced veteran at all and be able to help those guys in the bullpen and whatnot. Not at all, really. Because he would be the last of the guys that they had signed in the offseason to help kind of round out with the young core. I mean, as it looks right now, I mean, your veterans per se, right, in terms of both positional players and pitchers, in terms of years of service, I mean, you're looking at really Rogers, Vierling, and Skubal to agree, because he's 27, although he's only in his second year active pitching, 30-year overall in the bigs. Got some relievers, but they've bounced around, some organizations, and obviously a lot of the infield, including McKinstry, Keith, are young. No pun intended on Jace Young. And then obviously Wenciel is a rookie. So, and then that just leaves Andy Ibanez as the only experienced veteran infielder, along with, super utility man Vierling, who has active playoff experience under their belt.
He has World Series experience. I think Shelby Miller was the only. I think Shelby Miller was one of the
the Dodgers, right?
Guys. Yeah.
Yeah, Dodgers. So yeah, he would have been the only other one, along with I think Mark Canha's got a little bit of playoff experience as well.
Gio too, probably.
Yeah, Gio's been kind of raking with Atlanta, but that's a whole other different subject. He's hit a couple home runs in the last few days, which is wild because he's largely been just kind of a slap hitter.
Yeah, soft contact hitter for us, but yeah, I don't know. So yeah, I mean, we traded away most of our veterans. I mean, I know McKinstry played for the Dodgers, but I don't think he was playing. I don't think he was on the playoff roster.
Well, if he did, he didn't play much. Like you said, he was just a fill-in guy for the most part, trying to get, earn his stripes per se on such a, an organizational team that usually has a litany of star players thanks to their payroll.
Yeah, exactly. Payroll. What's that? We're just getting it done how we get it done. So,
for everyone who doesn't know, that's where we get our money from. These printed out of LA, not DC. Don't listen to the government. No, I'm kidding.
But yeah, we're gonna get to our next break and come back in a little bit. So let's talk scenarios a little bit. Obviously, that we still have a lot of there's still, with 6 games left, a couple of different situations that we could fall in, and we talked about it offline, off the air a little bit, but there's still an opportunity for us to be to host a playoff game.
There's chance, yes. Mathematically, we are 4 games behind Baltimore on paper. We do own the regular season series, so head-to-head tiebreaker, should we somehow pull an extra large rabbit out of a skinny hat, we would host in the first round, the wild card round, pretty much only, I think, to that degree, because then after that, unless someone gets upset, it would be divisional winners. But we are 4 games behind Baltimore. If they were basically to go, 0-6, 1-5, and we go 4-1 or 5-1, 6-0, that's kind of the scenario we'd have to, play out for us to get that. With the worst case,
I could see 5-1. I could see 5-1.
Yeah, and look, as much as this team is hot, Tampa has weirdly always been a little bit of a thorn in our side, despite this year they were hard sellers. They traded a lot of their starting, 26
Well,
man
so
guys.
were we. So were we. Not hard sellers.
No, we were soft sellers for sure. We only traded a few pieces. They traded, I think, somewhere between 5 and 7 players out. 26 man rosters out. So we only traded 3, right? Flaherty, Chafin, Canna, and not counting DFAs.
Kelly.
Carson, so that's 4, yeah. Yeah, but he was largely
that was our best. That was our best catcher. Carson Kelly was one of our best hitters.
Yeah. He was good, I'll say that. But I mean, Tampa started selling way before the deadline, though.
Oh, really?
Way before the deadline. They were sellers about a month out, and we were only soft sellers until like the last maybe week. I think we had one early trade.
The day, it was nearly several days beforehand.
Yeah, and Tampa pretty much was like, "Yep, no, we're at that time of progression with the young guys where they're coming up and ending their arbitration. We ain't gonna pay them, so we're gonna go get our haul, like they normally do." But again, roundabout way of saying they've not been pushovers even the last few weeks, so they're not a team we should take lightly. Although it'd be easy to just overlook and say, well, we've got 3 of the easiest cupcakes to end the year, almost like we started out in Chicago to start the year on that hot stretch. But, it's going to be interesting, man. Real quickly with some of the other teams that are around us in the standings. Baltimore, interestingly, they got 3 against the Yankees, who have already clinched a spot. Technically, I think they can still get the division, but it's a low probability of happening.
No. I think. So the Yankees clinched playoffs.
Yeah, the Yankees. Yes, I think with another loss, the Yankees win. I think that seals a division. The Yankees did clinch a playoff spot, and then they play 3 against Minnesota, which would be interesting. Because if they clinch a division, I don't know if they can really improve on their overall spot. Because I think they're already listed number 1 in the AL. So as long as they take care of business against Baltimore, I really don't think I would expect to see, if that's the case, some guys get rested against Minnesota, kind of staggered. But that's kind of how it's going to be the rest of the way, too. The Yankees, after they play Baltimore for 3, well, they can play Pittsburgh. Baltimore still – sorry, I had the other way. Baltimore ends against Minnesota. So they might – also be in a position where if they don't catch the division Yankees, then they also start staggering players for rest against Minnesota, which might make things a little interesting with us if we don't sweep Tampa. Not saying that we absolutely have to. Obviously, it'd be the best case scenario for us, but we need to stay ahead of KC and Minnesota in that stretch. And Minnesota has the Marlins for 3, and then they play Baltimore. So again, they might be facing a lesser lethal Orioles team in that finale. So a lot of that kind of plays into effect. Same thing with Kansas City. They play, the lowly Nationals for 3, and then they go to Atlanta for 3. And if Atlanta gets eliminated because they play the Mets, Atlanta might start sit some guys down the stretch just, because it's not worth it. So there's still, a lot can happen here in the next 6 days. So again, we're in a position now where we finally are in control of our own spot. You win out or stay pace with Minnesota below us. You match it. At worst case, we're in. That's pretty much where it's at. So we have a couple other comments from Marchione if you want to take those away.
I've been putting them up. Some of them are talking about Corey Burn or what? Wasn't it's not
Chris Fetter?
Well, I already threw that one up there. I was talking about Job. It's just wait till Fetter gets a hold of him. Yeah, definitely. No, that's huge. I mean, you look at what he's done for Herder and Gunther and Ty Madden and
I'm not those you guys. That's the Toledo pitching coach who got the credit for improving those guys because they were
but they weren't that good in Toledo though per se.
Yeah, but they made changes. Otherwise, they never would have gotten called up. If they would have stayed in that path, they probably were going to be on the quick list of getting cut.
But what about Montero and Madden? Those guys had awful years in Toledo.
Yeah. No, Montero's done, he's had some bumpy roads, but also more of late. He's had a couple more recently. He's had more better outings than poor outings, that's for sure. But
Montero got touched
I mean,
up last time. I think that was
Yeah.
Baltimore.
I mean, we also spent like 35 days with two traditional starters for a while until Mize and Olsen came back eventually. So
This year is going to go into infamy, I swear, because when you look back at what, because everybody's not going to remember how we got to where we got here. They're just going to say, the end roster looked good. You had Jackson Jobe. It's like, no, we had Jackson Jobe for the last 6 games of the year. When you look at the final roster, like Kerry Carpenter was out for a long time. Green missed some time. Torkelson and Meadow. Yeah, Parker got hurt, but that was just short term. He spent 2 months with Torkelson down in Toledo. Like, that's one of those things that if you didn't follow the season from beginning to end, you just see the end result. And it's like, oh, Torkelson's numbers weren't that high. Yeah, because he spent 2 months in Toledo. He had hit rock bottom. So yeah, this will always be documented. People will Google these times and be like, who was coaching Foster? Like, what they been talking about for the in 2024? But it's a great year. It's not over yet, and we're gonna definitely. Tigers ain't letting up. I mean, this is when you talk about grit, that's the nickname now. Obviously, they kind of got that from the Lions, but the gritty Tigers. I mean, they just play super hard. You got guys like Jace Young, who plays with 1 batting glove. Anybody that doesn't wear 2 batting gloves is just cut from a different cloth. I feel like you got Rogers and his mustache. You got McKinstry. Who has a Central Michigan education. Like what is that really worth? Like, no, I'm just kidding. But you got some guys that just leave it all out there on the field. And it's been a fun season to watch. And I don't know who Tampa's got left, but we got this.
Well, they play us, and then they play hopefully by the time we're done playing them, they're eliminated. I think they're pretty close to getting eliminated. Yeah, they're 4 out with 6 left. I mean, as long as we win tomorrow, if granted we play, weather permitting, that should effectively almost eliminate them, I think. Maybe not technically because they'll be tied, but if we end up winning the head-to-head tiebreaker, then it wouldn't matter at that point, at least with us.
Yeah. So what we got left to discuss?
Someone needs to talk to Corbin Burns. Let's see. All right. Well, let's kind of expand the scope here. So as now that we are in a solid wild card position ourselves, the rest of the playoff picture right now would be Yankees and Guardians are in. Astros are right on the cusp of getting in and winning the division. And then over in the National League, you've got the Phillies in the East, Dodgers in the West, the Brewers, who I think were the first team to clinch the division out of anyone else. And then the Guardians, Yankees are a game or so away, game and a half maybe from clinching the AL East. So that's kind of how it's rounding out right now. The Yankees and Guardians technically are still in a battle for number 1 overall in the AL pennant for the playoffs, to host all AL series games in that regard in terms of having home field. And it looks like it'll probably be between the Dodgers and the Phillies for 1-2 in the NL. So, some familiar teams that we've been seeing over the last few years or so. So, a lot of these guys have some more recent playoff experience, and, this Tiger team is going to come in young, fairly rough around the edges. And I would hope that this momentum has kind of put some of their nerves at ease. But as we know, and we've heard in other interviews, rookies making their debuts in the playoffs and whatnot, it's a different atmosphere altogether. And we've I'm pretty sure you've been to a playoff game or two, but having been to a few,
I have not.
No, you haven't. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it felt similar, but also different between the 06 run. I think I went to one each series before the World Series, and then similar into that 2012-2016 run that we had with that group. Went to a few games the year they went to the World Series. That year against the Giants, I believe it was. Because 06, I believe, was the Cardinals that we lost in 5. Kenny Rogers getting the only win in that series. So, yeah, again, kind of alluding back to what we started about, this team kind of gives you the 2006 vibes. Not necessarily no-name guys. We follow a lot of these guys. Prospects, they were, some of them were fairly highly touted. Guys like Torkelson and my number 1 overalls, of course, that we know. We've come to familiarize with over the last few years, but these guys don't have playoff experience, and sure, Mize has been to a College World Series, but it's a different animal, and it is going to be, granted we get in, these guys are going to have goosebumps, heading into the opening anthem wherever they play for game 1, and hopefully at that point, they'd be like, we're playing with house money, man. We got nothing to lose. We're playing with house money. All the expectation and anxiety should be on the other team. And we're just not happy to be here, but we got something to prove that this isn't a fluke. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to be here, but we're certainly not content with like, okay, we're here. That's cool. No, this team, if I don't want to put anything out there, but
hey, be bold. Be bold.
If they were going to fold, they would have been folded. They had plenty of opportunities. We've had a ton of come from behind victories, extra innings. Yeah, we that's what our team has consisted of for the past month or so. So there's no letting up. And the simple fact that we control our own destiny, that's huge. I think we've pretty much gotten past that point of, oh, we're hoping that this team does this or does that. Like now we can just, control our own destiny, handle our own business, and the pressure is beyond on Minnesota and Kansas City. They just like, what is going on right now? Because momentum is everything. Our buddy Jake Hill always says, "Go with the clip." I mean, do we not have all the momentum at this point? Kansas City has lost 7 in a row. Like, you know how hard it is to bounce back from that? Like,
they're trying to be the White Sox too hard right now.
Yeah, I mean, even the White Sox haven't lost 7 in a row, I don't think. I think they
lost over 20 in a row in the year.
During the year, but I think they won as of recently. Not that they're making any ground on anybody, but
well, yeah, I mean, 7 compared to 20. I mean, they were the national laughing stock for about 10, like a week and a half, when they were like, could they lose 30 in a row? Like that would have been absolutely abysmal. But yeah, losing 7 in a row this late in the year when you're in the hunt, you're not only not doing yourself any favors, you're basically cutting off one of your feet and just trying to still run at the same time.
With 2 of the best players in baseball, between Witt and Perez. Perez, is that his last name?
Yeah, and they got a couple of really good pitchers in Lugo and Cole, I think Reagans, who we've seen a few times. I mean, those are not, guys that, we kind of expected to be legitimate, but I think Lugo too was in the general like midsummer break AL Cy Young talk. He was in the mix of probably 7 or 8 pitchers, obviously including Skubal and our well familiar recent foe now in Corbin Burns. Yeah, I mean, they have not. I mean, they were off to a good start early too. You know, they kind of got a little bit ahead of Minnesota, and then Minnesota finally got going, and Correa got going a bit. And you know, we've been sitting here on this show for a while now, and we've been listed, you know, fourth in the division for weeks. Now all of a sudden, you
Months?
know, within, you know, yeah, and within
Pretty
the
much
last
all
week,
year long, we
our shows,
fell
they're
behind
now
all those
second.
guys.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Well, we were first for a little bit, weren't we? Like what, 6-0 or 6-1 at one point?
I mean,
Yeah.
for the first 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah. And then everything fell apart with Torkelson and Meadows, and we're like, oh God, here we go. These are the ugly growing pains. But I would much rather have had the same timeline if we had to do it again, go through those early, because it's not how you start in baseball, it's how you finish, because we've seen plenty of teams get hot early and they don't make the playoffs. Or hell, 2006, we had the division lead for a lot of the back half after the All-Star break, and we, you know, freaking fell apart. We got swept at home by the Rangers, who were like 15, 20 games under 500, and we lost the division title and just became a wild card team, and they had to scrap from there. So, you know, there's lessons in all of that, but I think they took to heart a lot of the struggles they had early on, sprinkled in some guys that they've got in via trade, you know, low key, almost not on the radar trades or acquisitions to the minor leagues. And then, you know, poof, here they are 2 months later. Pretty much all those guys that we've acquired prior to, you know, we'll say mid-August, at least, well before right around the All-Star break, you know, they're all contributing. I mean, this is a legitimate all hands contribution versus a more traditional approach where you've got all, you know, okay, these guys are going to start day in, day out. These are your 7th, 8th, 9th inning guys. Here's your 5 starters. It's no, throw that into the tub or the jar and stir it around. And, you know, it's just been a whole myriad of, you know, platooning and band-aiding things together. And somehow in the last 6 to 8 weeks, it's even longer than that since Parker's come back. I mean, it's been working and clicking. And it's been hard to explain, but boy, we've been enjoying the ride.
So shout out to AJ Hinch, or
let's
take a break. Let's take a quick break, and then I want you to. We're going to take our last break, and then we don't have time for this long one on the first end of the break. Here we go. All right, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Look, the guy's got to get it done. At the end of the day, players got to get it done. And look, I'm sorry, he still cost us a few games in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, credit to him. How about credit to Chris Fetter instead with what he's had to deal with? You know, AJ just fills out the lineup card. Fetter's in the bullpen doing the grunt work. I mean, come on, you know. Sorry, AJ, you don't have your trash cans to help you. Fetter's been a lot of the guys have been saying the magic hand, the magic touch.
The offense has been strong as of late too, though. Like, let's not kid ourselves.
Guys are healthy, and guys have, like you said, like we just on the last segment, they've learned and improved from their early struggles, and they're all chipping in at different times. If it's not Parker, it's been Carey. If it's not Carey, we've had Ibanez with some random, you know, game-winning hits. McKinstry through a lot of late July and August helped carry the team with 11-game hit streak and reach safely, and I think in a couple more beyond that too. You know, Torkelson had a good start to his return. He's faded off a bit in the last probably 2-3 weeks or so. Hasn't been as contributable with the bat, but he's made a few nice plays with the glove, which I know he was struggling with too early on in the year. You know, and I'm going to say right now, I think Parker Meadows is turning into a 5-tool star player. Hits for average, or he's increasing his average since he's been back. Obviously, he was really low to begin with. He hits for power. He's got great power, both sides of the field. He runs the bases very well. He can swipe bags. He's got the speed. And like you said, he's got multiple top 10 plays throughout the year. This guy, I think, seriously needs to be considered as a Gold Glove candidate, and will be for the next several years to come. He's been a piece of the pie that we've been missing going back to the beginning of the year when we were a little bit older with Mark Hanna and Gio Urshela, guys that are not going to really steal bags or run the bases that well, but they're smart enough to kind of help offset that. And look at the trade deadline. We get Sweeney. We called some other bullpen guys up to help. We got Olson back. Mize has struggled a bit, but we're in a situation where we still need arms. So this has been a very unique team, and we just got to take it in right now. But to the point about AJ, not ready to give all the credit to him. He certainly gets some, but compared to Fetter, not even close. Doesn't hold a candle so far.
So when we look at what we got going on tonight, there's not many implications as far as what relates to the Tigers. Looks like there's only 2 games going on, the Cubs and Phillies and Red Sox and Blue Jays.
No, there's 4 games on tonight. The other 2 are out. Seattle and Houston and San Francisco and Arizona are the other 2.
They're later tonight. Okay, I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So has Seattle been eliminated?
No, they're actually only a game behind Minnesota. They're 2 behind us. So Boston, I kind of feel like it's not really a threat to us right now, just because based on who they have to play too. I kind of already took them off the list on our Excel file. I ain't worried about them, especially the way I know they beat Minnesota down a bit in the last few days, but they're 4 games behind us. I ain't worried. And then we play Tampa right now. So the only 2 teams I'm really kind of eyeballing are still Seattle and Minnesota at this point.
All right. And Kansas City, right?
Well, yeah, they're tied with us. We don't own a tiebreaker against them, but we do have a spot. Them and us have a spot right now if it ended today. So,
right.
Again, it's only an issue if we slip on the days where Minnesota wins. Then it's like, well, yeah, we'll be scoreboard watching both of them at that point if we were a couple days ago when we were again 1 game out or a half game out, but. At that point, it's like, well, we only need 1 to mess up when we win, and then we would trade spots essentially. But, as long as we've got a game ahead against one of them heading into 162, we control it. It's all us. And that's kind of the way I want to keep it, obviously, considering not having those head-to-head tiebreakers. Our margin for error is a little bit smaller than theirs.
Right, and that's the way I want to keep it, being able to be in control of things. And that'll pretty much wrap the show today. I appreciate all the live viewers. We had the most live viewers that we have had this entire season. So everybody is starting to feel that energy and that, just that belief that, we'll have more to talk about on this show by next Monday when the regular season will be over.
Yeah, this Sunday, everything will be settled in at this point. It doesn't look like there's any games that are still pending on playoff implications. So if there is a game that had been rained out that has not been made up between 2 teams that are not in the postseason, then they will not make that game up. But as of right now, heading into tonight, everyone that we are considering that are with us or just around us, 6 games. Everyone's got 6 left, half a dozen.
Yeah, and it feels good to still be in it in late September. Please subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers. We have a lot of folks that tune in strictly audio from our Fans First Sports Network umbrella. But yeah, please subscribe to Bleachers to Speakers. We follow 3 teams: the Tigers, the Pistons, and Detroit Lions. And of course, subscribe to Corner to Copa as we bring you coverage all the way down to the very last. And then we got off season at some point, hopefully later on. But we have an off season to cover. Our fine front office has done a good job of piecing the team together and putting together a team that is going to fight to the very, very end, playoff wise. And, there's a future ahead of us when we talk about 5-tool guys. Oh, plug. Max Clark is a great follow on Twitter down the stretch. He is watching, now that he's completely done with West Michigan, as far as the season is concerned, he is watching on the, on the edge of his chair every Tigers moment. And it's just fun to watch him. I don't want to say admire. Admire sounds weird, but just cheer on his team. He gives you
taking it in.
Yes. And he knows he's on the way. We're talking about 5-tool players. He's going to be here very, very soon. You're going to see an outfield with Parker Meadows, Max Clark, and Riley Green at some point,
Yep.
So that is going to be, because Riley Green has been he's been on a rampage defensively himself. He threw somebody out. We don't see many outfield assists from our outfield, but Riley Green did throw somebody out. I want to say he stole a home run not too long ago as well. Did his best Parker Meadows impression, but this is our future here. We got all these guys are all they're all in their lower 20s, and it's just fun. It's just fun to watch Max Clark cheer on his teammates. And he tweets almost as if he know, because I don't know how many of those guys that he converses with and talks to, because none of these guys he's actually got a chance to play with, because he's in low A ball. But
he spent a little time with Job, Double A, a little bit of time this year.
Job wasn't in Double A though. I mean, Job was in Double A, but Clark wasn't in Double A.
I think they overlapped briefly. It wasn't long though. I don't think.
Maybe
if they just missed each other.
Did he start in single?
No,
maybe
Max,
not. But
Job did.
I'm sure they've crossed paths somewhere just because they're a little bit closer.
Briefly, if that. Yeah.
But if you don't think that he, this is a very polarizing, electric player. If you don't think that he's not feeling that, like, I could bring something to the table, that feeling, I mean, you're kidding yourself, because he's feeling that. He's feeling that for sure.
I low-key get the feeling that he's like,
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to these, if he couldn't get to a game now. I mean, he's in Michigan, so.
Yeah, I mean, the feeling I've gotten from some of his social media has been he's just a go out and do it guy. He's not. Yeah, we see on the outside, we see the tattoos, and people might think might be a little arrogant because of that. He's a young guy, but I'm like, look, when he's out there on the field and he plays, he just plays. He's having fun, and that's a lot of what I see is mirrored in the young guys in the parent club now. This year.
Exactly.
So they're out having fun. They're doing their thing. They're learning. They're asking questions. Max seems like a very coachable guy, which can be tough for a high pick like that. Some guys they're told for years that are going to be the next Ken Griffey or Randy Johnson or Bryce Harper, etc. And they might get a big ego because of it, and it's not necessarily their fault. But it's just what they've been,
Is he still 19?
It's his first year. I'd have to double check on the age, but I mean, he's playing. I want to say more mature than someone possibly could for his talent and ability.
He doesn't turn 20 until December. I mean, this guy's 19 years old, and I mean, he's a social media sensation. I mean, the dude has 430,000 followers, and he's making millions of dollars already. So, good for him though. I can't wait. That is going to be so lit when he gets up here.
Him, Job, and Colt Keith are gonna be those guys.
I didn't even utter Colt Keith's name today. I think maybe just briefly we talked about Colt Keith, but another guy.
Well, he had the injury to the shoulder, right? So that's the one thing. Yeah, briefly we'll touch on, we know he got hurt late last week before the weekend series or right around there. We thought maybe too, like, could be it. He couldn't throw. He had to take himself out.
Well,
usually that's not a good sign.
You thought he could be out. I said, Coach, relax. It's gonna be okay.
Oh, you want to put me on blast like that? When you hear a player saying that I don't have the ability to throw the ball from 30 feet from second to first base, like, that is kind of alarming for sure. And then you got to take yourself out of the game because you have to admit to yourself, like, okay, I can't do this. I need to get someone else in there that can, because one, I can't, two, I'm in too much pain. So, but yeah, no, I think we've, for once this year, more recently, have been able to come out of a situation that could have been really bad and got the best out of it, with him only being out for a few days, DH the first game in the weekend series, and then was able to play the field. I think just yesterday played the field. So everything in that regard to Cole Keith's trending in the right direction. And frankly, look, you know what? If Zach or Ibanez has to come out and play second, as long as he's swinging the bat at the bare minimum, I'm okay with that, because his bat is electric in that lineup.
Yeah, he's definitely been instrumental part of it. He's been hitting for a good average and hitting the off field. So we extended this a little bit. This ended up being an hour show just because I started running my mouth. But
hey, you know what? We're this close to playoffs, so hey, just more talk for all the fans out there and ourselves. And easily could have been a different show if this had gone the other way over the last few weeks. So we will take it for sure. Absolutely. So thank you also, everyone, to Foster's comments earlier about the viewership and listenership.
Yeah. Because we got folks still watching at this current point. Thank you for from wherever you guys are. And yeah, we're gonna wrap it up this time, for real this time. But subscribe to all those different channels just so you can get notified, because that's always important. To just be notified when we go live, because we've been pretty consistent. We'll be back next Sunday.
Yeah, this coming Sunday. Yeah. Now, maybe might have a little extra live stream depending on the day, if they might clinch. We'll see. We'll play that by ear. But
man,
they make it. We're gonna have a nice little playoff breakdown. I mean, certainly, granted, if they clinch and make it, we will definitely. Yeah, right. Like, we're going back to our college days, winning intramural co-ed ships. If they make it, we'll probably look into, for sure, maybe doing a live stream, watching a game, reaction, and interacting with anyone that wants to jump in. But like Foster said, we've gone a little bit long, but frankly, it's all been good stuff for the organization and the team, and for us, the fans, who enjoy it. Finally, it's been a long time coming. So, man, we're in the last 6 days. This is what it's coming down to. So, buckle in, grab your snack, grab a beverage, a cold one, and let's finish this out with the Gritty Tigers.
All right, we out of here.
Peace.